Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a bit worried. These chairs in front here, they are not reserved for anyone. People can come and sit in front here. They are not reserved for any particular people. I'm informed that registration is nearly complete, and our apologies for starting a bit late. We were supposed to start exactly 10, but we're delayed by a registration. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all in this round table. But before we get into the formalities, I need to declare the Pactonian Hotel as a precinct of the legislature so that the rules of the legislature applies in our deliberations. I, Bonginkosi Dlamini, the chairperson of the Oversight Committee on the Premier's Office and the Legislature, hereby declares the Pactonian Hotel and its surrounding premises as the precinct of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in terms of Rules 56 of the state
of that financial year, and therefore assesses the actual state of service delivery. The committee then conducts an FIS based on the following. The committee then must be convinced that a specific sub-program or project is not sufficiently funded and therefore may likely fail in its objectives, or the committee may want to give priority to a certain program perceived to be a priority, or one that's not adequately resourced in relation to other issues. Or the committee may have concerns that are not satisfactorily addressed by a specific department, in this case, concerns economy, that does not leave everyone behind. This study is therefore vital to ensure that businesses owned by people with disabilities remain a key part of the inclusive economy of Gauteng. This is just an overview. This slide gives just an overview of the businesses owned by people with disabilities registered on the central supplier database under Gauteng. So regionally, in Johannesburg, there are 896 businesses. Ekurhuleni currently has 478. Tshwane, 754 businesses. The West Rand has 204, and Seribeng has 153 businesses. So just to give an overview of these businesses, of all the companies owned by people with disabilities in the province, 90% have an annual turnover of less than 10 million. 26 companies, that is 1%, have an annual turnover of 50 million or more, and 224 companies have an annual turnover of more than 10 million and less than 50. Just that the registration shows that they are registered for a range of services on the CSD system. In terms of the rationale for the FIS, I'm not going to go into this. I've given this detail in the background in terms of why we're here, but just to say that one of the reasons we are here is that during the assessment of the Office of Premiers, also its third quarter now for the current financial year, it remained evident that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that this group is able to compete in the space of procurement in both the GPG as well as the Office of Premier, where achievements for the current financial year's quarter three were, the 22-23 financial year, were at 0.39% for GPG-wide and 4% for the Office of the Premier. This has remained a huge concern for the committee as it challenges the realization of an inclusive economy. Then for the objectives of the study, this is to understand what we would want to hear from you today. What are the challenges in that space? So one of those is we want to investigate the main factors that contribute to the Office of the Premier's non-attainment for the 7% target for procurement of goods and services from businesses owned by persons with disabilities, to ascertain also the reasons for opting for supply of lower value services and commodities. This one comes from the fact that when the Office of the Premier reports to the committee on why they are not achieving this very low 7% target, one of their reasons is that the businesses in this space are not providing high-end value products or some of the products that they need to procure. So we would want to investigate some of the barriers in that space as well. Then to also investigate barriers for access and registration to CSD, if there are any of these. To assess also the reasons for low response to RFQs or submission of bids by the businesses registered on CSD. The committee also wants to understand the reasons why the current mechanisms put in place by the Office of the Premier are not yielding 100% desired results to attract the kind of business that is required by the Office of the Premier from enterprises owned by people with disabilities. The committee would also want to investigate the challenges that affect uptake of programs that the office may have organized for people with disabilities thus far. And lastly, to assess how GPG can resolve those challenges that block access to businesses in this sector. Then in terms of methodology, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just to give a background that the committee had initially first, this is a mixed method approach. One part of this study started with a quantitative survey. So some of the people in this room would have participated in that survey, where the first process was for the research team, ourselves in this committee. We had contacted Provincial Treasury to get a list of the businesses that are registered on CSD. From that list, what we found that it contained 2,487. You'll see this is from the numbers that I've just given, this is the total number. 2,487 businesses that are registered on CSD under Gauteng. What we did in that first sample, we sent out an email questionnaire that was on a link, an email as well as on WhatsApp. Some of the businesses in the room had taken part in that survey. So what the committee found was that the response rate from our questionnaire, we had sent, so out of 2,487, for a research sample, 240 would have been sufficient. But what we did, we went a step further and actually sent the survey to 500 businesses. One of the reasons we are here today is because out of that 500 emails and WhatsApp that we submitted using the CSD contacts that we received, we only received about 17 responses. That is the reason we are here today. We only received 17 responses out of 500 that we sent out. So we are bringing you here today then to give us your perspective face-to-face with the members, and also to control for that sample issue that happened. That we cannot actually say that we got a clear picture from submitting 500 and only receiving 17 responses. So we are bringing you here today as the second part of the study that we had conceptualized, that is now the qualitative component, where you then are able to bring your perspective face-to-face to the members of the committee. So it was an open-ended, so it was a questionnaire. I'm not going to speak to I think I've summarized the questionnaire in detail. I'm just going to go to, I've spoken to the qualitative component. And then in terms of the research findings, to some extent, one of the findings was exactly that we had a very low response rate. So we are bringing, as part of the limitations of that study, we're bringing you here today to then be able to give us the issues that you face in that space. And then, so that this roundtable was then conceptualized, taking into account that control measure that we would need to hear from the businesses themselves in terms of what are the issues. Then in terms of my concluding remarks as I come to the end, it's clear that the findings reveal that there's a considerable work that still needs to be done to ensure that this group is able to respond to business opportunities from the Office of the Premier. Evidently, also from the low response of the survey alone, we can deduce that there are also some communication barriers that may exist either in that space, either from the office or the sector in general, that we'd also want to hear from. So this study also is very critical in that we want to unlock the challenges that exist and that are experienced by these businesses to ensure that the office is able to respond appropriately for the remainder of the sixth administration in support of the priorities that aim to support people with disabilities in entering and competing on the mainstream economy. Thank you so much, Chairperson, honorable members and colleagues, and our invited stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dlamini. Our stakeholders, I think you have heard the background and where we come from this, because every time the Office of the Premier, as we are doing oversight over it, they are underachieving on this target. Therefore, understanding your slogan that says nothing about us without us, we said we are sick and tired of people coming with glossy reports telling us that you are not existing, you are not there. Therefore, we want to find out from you, why are you not in the space? Why are you not in the space? So this opportunity is for us to listen to you, because your inputs will really help us to make serious recommendations in the legislature. Because as an oversight committee, all we can do is to say we have engaged with this sector, they are here, this is what they are saying, therefore what you are telling us is either rubbish or nonsense or whatever. I'm also happy with the turnout, because we had to postpone the first round of our because of the response was not really positive. Therefore, we'll give you this opportunity to tell us why are you not in the space, more especially when you listen to the background report. It tells you that there are more than 2,000 companies which are registered in government, but we are failing to achieve even 7%, which is a target. We are achieving 4%, and in that 4%, you are not in the in the high-end value. The 4% only accounts for something less than 10 million rands, and the government is spending millions in procurement. So yeah, this opportunity is yours. Ningashayi thina, we are not as keep ama-tent. Sizonilalela nje ukuthi wayibanganika ama-tent. Yeah, I'll hands up, then yeah. It's up, it's yeah, I'm giving to you now, stakeholders. Putting a hand there, the lady. I'm afraid 2 there, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Dumela, hello.
Yeah, you just say your name and where you come from,
Yeah.
and then you are free to talk any language. Yeah.
Dumela, hello. Yeah, utlwa. Dumela, hello. Am I good? Ke nna Boipelo Lekwane, the managing director of MOV Creations. Ke tswa ke le ko Pretoria in the northwestern sides, Bogarangua, Orchards, side tseo. Firstly, thank you for the invite and for the presentation and your efforts in bringing us here together. The one criticism, criticism making a linyona is that I think that government arona doesn't understand disabilities, and I don't think they're making an effort to want to understand. I mean, for instance, I'm the only one in the room with albinism. I don't know how big is your database. Like, there's associations, did you even reach out to those? You know, there was no signage when I came here. Like, those are the basic things on Tlhalohanya. So for me, I mean, when you're wanting to get into the tendering space, you have to go to the briefing session and stuff like that. So for instance, navigating my way into this hotel was a challenge. And even inside the hotel, it was a challenge because there was not something as simple as signage, or even people, bare direct, oh, GPL, Oversight Committee, what, on Tlhalohanya. So those challenges are already limited in this room. So now, let's take take it to the procurement space, the tender systems, I get, which our company, my company, has participated in. The cost is just too high, I get, to register a business. SARS kwa, CSD kwa, otamela taxi oyakwa. You have to download the tender document. Ke tšhelete. You have to source the quotation. I get, ebare o supply a grocer, oya macro, oya advanced cash and carry, oya Google, ke tšhelete. There is money. And then you have to compile the document. You have to print your tax exemption certificate, your CSD document, your profile, babatla di PO tsa your previous work, SARS, BEE. It's a lot. These things expire. Oya ko banking, o kry-ile proof of bank. Next month, expire, you have to get another one. Keep printing costs. So those are like the socio-economic challenges in us participating in the tendering space. And then compound with that, a person is living with a certain disability. You know, navigating your way. CSD uko kai, otama obudzisa tsile yotle kwa wa timela, nako ya tsamaya, tender ya tswalla ka nako mamang. So it's very hard. Like for us, well, for me, tendering is a sort of, in brackets, easy business to get into because in alignana credibility relaying. But like those barriers make it hard for you to participate. Or register. So when the CSD system was introduced, I thought it was a central system. Beanong ning Department of Labor lona ere get into our database, panel of suppliers. You're like, but I'm already in the CSD. So why must I have I put that effort into the CSD. Now I have to Department of Transport le bona santse ba nkitse. Labor le bona santse ba nkitse. Tshwane le ona na le vendor number, Gauteng na le vendor number, CSD na le vendor number. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, it's as simple as like botata bona re le mona ka unemployment. Gore o batla motho di CV everywhere, a certify everywhere. It's the same with doing business. It's a lot. You know, and there's other tenders selling okra maybe supply stationery. But you must have Mukukua house stationery shop. But you are trying to get in. How can you have that stationery shop? Why are we lo negotiate ali Mohammed or Mohammed? Can I use your details? GPL transport is coming. They want to see that I have a stationery shop. Mohammed is saying no. Already, I was gonna provide competitive prices. I'm lacking that one thing. Participate. So I'm not sure if we are ready to solve these challenges because, as I mentioned, some of them are socio-economic. Like, you can't exactly give me money or kilo printer or a kilo scanner. So, for instance, some of us were transported here. Can you transport us to the briefing session? Is it even reasonable to ask that from you or from government? So, what are the trade-offs? What can government do for us? What are the trade-offs? But I can assure you, people are not sitting and not trying to do anything. My company was registered in 2015. I stopped doing the tender because I was tired, you know? So, thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
May I ask to remain seated? Okay. My name is Dipo Makatini. I'm interested in the tangible inclusion, the feasible study that we had. And part of it would be answered by the questions that she indicated. You said you had a survey done online, WhatsApp and whatever other methods, right? So I'm thinking that we have people who are blind. I'm not sure what other method they use to access the platforms that we're using. But I'm thinking that had we appointed a survey company, a research company rather, to conduct this, maybe have a few people on field to go out and go to these people and find out whatever thing that would have been included in the survey. 90%, if not all of the things that she said, amongst other things, would have been highlighted. So maybe that's another way that we need to start thinking, because also economy is bad. Some people don't even have data. So you can just imagine if you send questionnaires to 2,000 people and only 3% or a percentage thereof would be able to access it. So maybe we need to, like I said, think of other platforms, which I'm just suggesting that getting a research company or getting a person, given the addresses or the contact details of those people, set up appointments, go to them and do the study. That would help. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kulegani Mhlongo from the Tshwane region. Firstly, I would like to commend the panel in the front there to convene such a sitting. It's very appreciated, and I hope it will assist. And then, secondly, I would like to the issues that my sister was addressing there, to the reasons why maybe there is no turnout in terms of responses in the tender or RFQs. My first point is that, number one, we've got a lot of scammers out there, which sends RFQs on behalf of a certain department, of which we've got no way of verifying whether this is a legit RFQ or not. So you will be responding, sending information out there, not knowing that you are sending to the scammer. That's the first reason. My second reason will be, in the tender space, we are required to have experience. My company was registered in 2017. Up to this point, I've never got anything. And I'm expected to have an experience to be able to be included in the tender business. Where do I get the experience? That is such red tapes that are there for us not to be included in the tender business. And to also include of what my sister was saying, socioeconomic, we've got a problem of, I'm not sure what to call it, but we want to respond to tenders, but we don't have resources. For me to be able to respond to a RFQ, I need to go to internet cafe, I need to print, I need to do all that. By the time the request comes, I don't even have a transport money to go to and make means to respond. So I think the department needs to find a way of how do they assist or address those kind of challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. I think number 4 is this side. Then yeah. It's number 4 and then you come, yes. Number 4 here.
Good morning. Hello, hello. Good morning, fellow entrepreneurs. Good morning, committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. And thank you for having such a standing. I think it's been a long time coming. Can you hear me clearly? All right. My name is Samantha Wagamakubela. I'm based in Gauteng, but I'm one of those very stubborn entrepreneurs that had to travel all over the country, but to find in the seating today that we are not recognized, we do not exist. That is so sad. Today I'd actually prepared a couple of barriers. It's as if I had known that something like this was coming up. And in preparing those barriers, I realized that, look, it is a half and half of initiative. As South Africa, we're currently going through a transformation. We're trying to find ourselves in a better standing. Transformation takes time. But if we look at the pillars of the NSP, the first pillar is accountability. Now, we are very quick to say we are holding government accountable. We are very quick to say such and such is not happening, but we are also not holding ourselves accountable. We understand that in terms of disability and impairments, it is a very diverse thing. The lady was very correct when she said that our government doesn't really understand that what exactly disabilities are. We've got different ones. We've got physical impairments, we've got intellectual impairments, we've got blindness, we've got deafness. If we were to ask each other now, just off the head, just walking in or going to the reception, when last did anyone see something in Braille other than money? When last did somebody see a platform or something that came out with transcriptions and audios for the people who are blind? When last did we actually have slots? The same way that back in the day, you know, we used to push BE, you know, it used to be a huge campaign, but it's kind of slowed down and it's taken a lag because we stay hidden, you understand? So in these barriers that I have identified personally as an entrepreneur is access to startup funding. Now, naturally, because we have diverse disabilities, getting funding is not easy even for the normal person. Getting a tender is not even easy for a person who doesn't have disabilities. So it's not to say we're making an excuse, but there's also a part of me that is so hungry and so driven to see individuals who are in disabilities, like who have disabilities, to see them pull themselves out of that sludge. When are we going to get out of that frame? I live with a disability, but it could take you 2-3 minutes, you know, before you were to figure that out. But that is because I had to take accountability for my success and say, okay, these are the things that I'm going to fight and do in order for me to be able to rise above. So when I speak of funding, if funding, especially for like tenders, if you're going to get something from procurement, they say let's do stationery. Already there are impairments in place. Now, if you look at the intellectual impairments, there's not much of these disabled people are being concentrated in the low income, all right? We don't have room to save. We don't have room to learn. We have a lack of managerial skills. We have a lack of skills because we are part of the loss. We are the that they want to look into. And then when you're going to come and you say you live with mental illness, then it's like, ooh. Guys, when are we going to normalize the fact that these things are here? Even, I always say, referring to my own disability, that the Bible even says that you will come to the world and you will be the spice of life. This is my spice, okay? So in my spice being this, it took for me to be self-aware. So I urge and I implore the committee, push for things that are going to create a mental transformation. We cannot sit and want to go forward when the gear's in reverse and we are saying we are going forward. Can we have things like mental transformation? A second barrier, the lack of accessibility to information and sources, grants and loans that are available. It's a ripple effect because if I have an intellectual impairment, like dyslexia, for example, I cannot go to school. If I could not go to school, I do not have a degree. So I will not get selected. And then the lower employment rates and concentration of disabled employees in the lower paying jobs causes disinterest from banks, causes disinterest from funders. There is what's this organization? We have CETA, we have Amavulindlela, but how many people know about those things, you know? And then also the limited awareness of eligibility of support. We can class, let's say, because we want to go into the full mainstream and say that, look, we are all coming to participate here, but the same way we complete a form, can we then have sensitive advisors to actually deal with this? I'll tell you that I moved into the private sector because of the disinterest of advisors, just to help us understand. Like, there's disinterest over there, they don't want to communicate, we don't want to skill build, we don't want to skill share. So That's the one thing that I also wanted to bring back, and it brings a lack of confidence. As you can hear in the room, we've got people who've had companies, they've been registered, but we haven't received anything. I stand to say I'm one of those. I've never received anything. I'm on CSD, my SARS is compliant, everything is fine. But then now I've spoken about our accountable side. Now on your guys' side, where I feel that the support would come in is that firstly, we need to look at accessibility to information. With the surveys that you guys did, so on and so forth, the lady made a very brilliant suggestion to say, get a research company who'll be held accountable to make sure that you guys meet certain targets for the surveys that you need. Let's stop trying to cut costs because the budget is clearly there. So let's do the things properly so they can be sorted out accordingly. And then also legislation. Legislation doesn't just have to be on Gauteng or have to be on a government. Legislation also qualifies and is actually a very big fundament of us as business owners. What are the legislations of your company? What are the policies in your company? Is the government teaching us what succession plans are? What is a succession plan, for example? Do you know that once I start a business, this is how I can grow? Do I know the difference between a shareholder and a director? You know, it's just basic information that instead of the propaganda that we're being fed on television, put it in legislation, go to the same way the radio was needed to have 60% of South African music, soapies and all of that. That is what's happening. Why can we not put in some things that will contribute to the mentality of South Africans? Because if we can start from the top, or if we can make it something that's streamlined, something that we are fed. We are in some of the situations that we are in because we are fed. We listen to voices. When you go and you speak to another entrepreneur, you're immediately discouraged. You understand? So let's try and infiltrate these things in our day-to-day lives. Impairments are not the same. Let's not treat them the same. Let's have different and sensitive advisors who are going to address those certain issues. Let's work towards that transformation. And then I am not sure if anybody else would be on my vouch. I stand as an entrepreneur and say, involve us. I, for one, angfundanga, like to the point of, but in my company, I'm a financial service provider and I'm a business coach. Business coach because I'm doing it because no one else is doing it. You find yourself assisting, registering companies and stuff. You find yourself, where are the care centers? Let's create care centers. You understand, when people can go. If you were to ask me where CSD is, I've never been to CSD before. I know CSD online, you understand? But how many people have accessibility to that? If we can put that into the mainstream, if we can put that on radio, if we can put that on television, all the things that we are currently being fed, it will work towards a transformation. The 7% that you guys that you guys are not reaching right now, look, it won't be too much a shock for us to face, because as I said, we are in a moment of transformation currently. However, in that transformation, we need things that are gonna boost us. They're gonna pick us up and teach us in order for us to move forward in this transformation that we want to see. And us as entrepreneurs who have gotten our foot in, like my sister, for example, she's had a tender before. If you can see that this community of ours is suffering, create that space to become, I'm not saying become a saving grace or whatever, but guys, let us empower each other. Let us skill share. But in that, we need your guys' support in the sense of us speaking facts. There will always be voices, there will always be downs, and there will always be things that are going to be challenges, right? However, if we can find different ways to basically address these things, if we can find guided ways, rather, especially looking at this sector, guided ways in a way that will not discriminate between a person who's physically impaired. Angeke guys is keep saving my email and say we're not receiving saving my email when I've got my blind sister next to me who you know, who's got her laptop open. What about the people of which, like I said, with intellectual impairments, I've sent somebody to register my company or banka pile to do such things. When this comes to me, I have no idea what it is. Let us have a call center. Can we have something that is just focused on the growing and the incubating, just like Ikasi Lab, but let it be more on an educational. It doesn't have to be all financial support, but once we can fix the mind, once we can understand that there are processes that you cannot skip, once you can understand that there are certain, you know, you have to cross every single T, you cannot skip a T. Once we understand that things are as it is, this paper will be flat, it's not going to turn into a sphere. And we can find a way to actually put that down in a manner of, like, in a guided form. It would see anybody. It doesn't have to be disabled. It doesn't have to be an able, but anybody should be able to pick up and to get this information. You saw the booklets in here with the empowerment guide. I just went through this. This is an example of something that, you know, can be done. But as a normal person, if I walk through the streets of Joburg, will I bump into this? You understand? Can we, like, let's try open up the means of accessibility to information. But with that also, I implore entrepreneurs as well to understand that we are the change that we want to see. If there are certain things that we cannot change, then it's our responsibility to empower the next one to make sure that they don't go through that. All right, thank you.
Sambonani, I'm Natasha Masike from Ikuruleni Springs. My organization is my second name, Reagile Community Development. It's a broad charity. Yeah, it's very broad, in a sense that I take guys to rehab. I've collaborated with people from Portugal. I'm sponsored by Woolworths, so I collect my food every Friday to give food parcels to families. So Reagile, meaning a broad charity, is I don't only look at individuals, but the whole family in that sense. And the problem is, I would say to you, Bablamin, is that most organizations will come to me because of how I take my job seriously. In a manner, I cannot apply for another job or get employed because of what I'm doing. It's what I love. In a sense, even if I do not have imali, I will take my grant money of my child to assist another person. In my heart, ngiba right. Even if my child would say, Mama, ufuni ipununu. Ipununu is a fruit. Ipununu would be in that time would be banana. If I cannot afford it, I'll make sure I'll make means uzoitola. But when I pray and ask just for my kid, pununu leyo ngoba ngisiza umunye umuntu ngegrant money yakhe shuthi kahle kahle I'm robbing my child emalini yakhe I deserve just to assist another person ngomsebenzi ongiwuthandayo. So ukuqhubeka kuya phambili mangithi it's a broad charity uReagile. I've applied for agriculture for land. Land ngiyifakile ba responda ngathola reference. Sa communicator, but I need to call this number. I called. When I called, bribe mangibona ngakhona lento lokuthi bayithathile iland lemengifuna given to another person because bathi eyami land isepinoni. Mangizo apply for another tender bazongibuza ukuthi we need you to have land first. Uyilisile ama documentation wakhona aso. I have all that. But part layer, I can't. Ngoba is scam as uputushilo. Izinto eziningi ezifuna ukuthi ufingelela kuyo is scam. In your side, since sonke sila, can we be the first 17? Esizile la njengisuka ukuthi siyafuna kuyenza lento le mara sifuna usizo lweni ukuthi since si 17 make sure ukuthi nisibambile. Update us with anything that may occur. When the other 17 or the other 25 come through, it would be easier for you guys to 17 leyo. Ngoba sihlula izinto ezincane, to be honest. About data, about airtime, we're taking from our own pocket. Size risk nokuthi kana siboleke. At the end of the day, you need to pay that money back. I got bablamini, but if funding yadingeka, but it's dinganina, ukuthi nisize, kuze uthi sirane half of your duties as a government. That's why we're here today. We left whatever we needed to be doing emakaya. It was much more important. But sakhethu ukuthi size la sizomamela nini ukuthi kena nisiphetheleni kahle kahle. Ngoba ibhlungu ukuthi kena usiza umunye umuntu but wena akwazi ukusiza. Ngezinto lousy toiletry. I-500 incane for i-toiletry. Inelizinto I'm sure is 3. Where thina ngokwethu kuphela, not another person. Another person would be even worse. Because when I say I'm sponsored by Woolworths, Netbox, and Emakwa IT, when those things come to me, says because of the target people that I'm targeting. Hence I said it's a pro-charity. I'm not only looking at disabled people, I'm looking at also poverty. I'm also looking at rehab people. I'm a drug addict. Abaningi ema background wabo awekho right. Uyafuna ukuya ku rehab but the finances ayimvumeli and it's only 1,000 rand once off. Minimum ukuthi ahlale laphana it's 1 year minimum. I've taken guys abahleli 7 years from Bloemfontein, from Mpumalanga, from Cape Town. Bangifonela just ngenumber 1. On my side, ifone baceda ukungithengela. Le yami engisebenzisa ena yonke into iphukile. And then for you guys to get me, it was difficult because my email address, my personal email address, you couldn't get me. But understand it. So Leo update njalo. I think everyone needs to have it. Utkena isasebenza email address access ama number so ama alternatives access so kuma board members wako in case if asuktholi, like as in that small space that we have. Let's think abroad. Ngati the fact that asebenzi but si prefer ukuthi save nina instead ngabantu ukuthi kena sonke sikwazi ukuphila a life esifunayo. Ngiyabonga.
One, two.
Thank you so much. Igama lami nguLubaba Lombeki. Sorry, I'll ask that I speak while sitting. I'm an entrepreneur, but I also work with a lot of disability organizations, doing a lot of consulting. Well, I think I also appreciate the opportunity given by the committee for us to give our inputs and our experiences. The first point I want to maybe comment on is on the research. Well, I think we're here to help each other wherever we can. On the research side, yes, it's quite concerning that there's been a very little turnover of people who have responded. I'm not sure as to what extent was your distribution of the survey, but I would think maybe a number of factors have played on that. For example, people not having data, people without being defensive though, but it's something, some of the things that you would want to maybe consider, and if you still have time to have a extended input on your research, if it's still open, maybe it's one of the things that could, given the limited time as well, that some of the members who are here now can also assist if it can be redistributed. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs with disabilities have got also a lot of other networks of persons with disabilities. So we can consider that obviously without like tampering with your timelines. And you know, there's a lot of emails that are coming to us, and really people are being asked a lot of things, a lot of information, but nothing is coming out. So anything that is not coming like as a very clear opportunity, we kind of like be ignoring and lose the opportunity to look at it like clearly, which might result to this stage now. So I want to suggest that maybe we could look at like redistribution, especially to the people who are here. We can also assist that. I'm not sure if you did maybe distribute also to different disability organizations, but we can also assist with those contacts so that we can extend. You want to, obviously there'll be echoing a lot of comments that because we almost share a lot of common experiences when it comes to procurement. So I just had one recommendation around that. With regards to the experiences on procurement and doing business with Gauteng, sure, I think there's quite a lot that is gonna come here, but the number one that I would want to echo along with the previous speakers is about the cost of tendering, the cost of doing business generally with government. I'm not proposing any explicit exceptions on us as disabled entrepreneurs. But what I want to propose is maybe relaxed conditions, especially the gatekeeping conditions on procurement, and maybe we should look at some of the things that are really not necessary and that are relevant to the age that we are living in right now. For example, we are in the digital age, and I think we might almost agree, all of us here, that printing paper is much more expensive than sending an email and completing everything online and doing submission. I know, and I can also agree that there's quite a number of Gauteng departments that have adopted the online submissions, and I think it has made things easy for those, for some of us who have been submitting. But I think it's something that we must encourage to other Gauteng departments to say, let's allow people to submit online. Printing is even costly. You have to go to the internet cafe, and all of the things that are involved in the physical submission. You know, I was surprised in the recent submission where we're required to send the documentation, but there might be some dynamics that play within the procurement which are very understandable, to say submit the submission in a memory stick. Well, that has been costly, because for me, that's still a software submission, but I have to spend money on transport and petrol and going there. Yeah, so I think I'm still echoing with the previous, especially on the cost of tendering, scams. especially I think the most vulnerable people. At least I was scammed when the first year of my entrepreneurship, I was like scammed in a way that I couldn't believe, you know. But I was scammed money that I didn't have and had to borrow, and I didn't know anything, and probably honorable committee members, this is a submission I think should be submitted by all departments. And I think it's directed to the National Treasury, because I think the CSD tool is a National Treasury tool. And I think it's for a long time now that we don't have a sound, secure system that will secure us. I'm not sure, but maybe if you can ask one by one out of the thousands of entrepreneurs, how many that have been scammed. And you know, a lot of, that is one factor that could be playing on the non-responsiveness of the RFQ. Because some of us, yes, there is information that is explaining on the CSD system, but it takes like sometimes for you to have experienced a lot of those to be able, because those people, they come with the genuine email that you would believe and all of that. So I think government, especially from the Treasury, they need to spend money on a very, very sound, secure system that is protective of entrepreneurs. So we are falling for scams, but and we end up like not many people are not responding, or just let it pass. Oh, maybe it's one of those things. Well, I'm not making excuses, but these are things obviously I'm submitting for real consideration. I think the last one, at least for now, that is quite a concern for me, especially for those that have been that have attempted to participate on the tendering of government, is feedback and communication. Well, I've been making a lot of RFQ submissions with a lot of other people that I know, and well, this is not where I solely depend, but it's interesting how I've been submitting, and I hardly ever had a feedback to say, well, okay, the most basic feedback would say, unfortunately, you haven't awarded the tender, okay? But especially for this, I think it's an interest group for you as the Gauteng province, because that feedback would play a very important role in saying, oh, okay, we are attending. But then the feedback, oh, you were not considered because of your overpricing. That gives then the person to say, okay, let me bid back again. Now let me consider my pricing. I think there is that element in our procurement practices that we need to highly embrace. Feedback that is clear and concise, without fearing that when you give feedback, then we're going to challenge you. Why didn't you give me and all of that? No, we're not all about that. We're about, okay, improving for the next so that we help you require as a Gauteng. Thank you for now.
Dumela bohle ka mo-
Sorry, ma.
I can't see. Oh, okay.
Thank you. My name is.
She'll be the next.
My name is Jolane Blose. I'm from the Johannesburg area. I'm from Viacom. I am I'm the CEO of the company. I just want to say that my experience with government procurement, it's a little bit frustrating. Also, it looks like there's a huge misunderstanding between innovation and government services. I'm from the deaf community. I understand every business person who's going to business, it is to satisfy the needs of the society and to make profit. So when I identify the need as a business person, I'm the innovator. Now I approach a potential department or potential user of the service, that is government departments. Then we sit down, you sit down and explain your innovation, how it works to address the needs of society or your community. What does the government do? Tells you, because of the procurement systems and regulations, doesn't allow you as a supplier-led initiative to meet with me as government and present your proposal, and you expect me, the department, to procure services from you. Now, it defeats the purpose of innovation. It defeats the purpose of satisfying the needs of society, which means that it impacts on the request for proposals. Government only comes with the RFP because they know about a particular services. Until they know, then they'll go to public tender. In the meantime, you as a disabled person, you wait. The needs of society are not addressed. That's where the disjuncture between government services and procurement. We were funded by Technology Innovation Agency, TIA. We encountered the same problem at the national level. They had to intervene because government departments are really reluctant to procure this service. So now the issue is government needs to understand two simple things. One, general business service and innovation. So when you meet with, let's say, the disability community, disability business owners, so the first thing you need to know, what services, what those services drives and address in the community. That as a deaf person, I drive services that address the needs of the deaf community. So that's the general idea of a business person, but the government is failing to understand that. That's why you don't achieve the 7%. That's why you don't see any responses from deaf people. Government expects us to run catering businesses. Well, yeah, it is common. So that's generic. But you must understand the fine line between innovation. Most of us, as in the disability sector, we are forced by circumstances to be innovative, to address our issues. But government doesn't come to the party. So yes, so we need to start there to understand the RFQs is not everything. Like the Bibles of tender, so you have to be, so there must be exception, or it must be a special for entrepreneurs with disabilities. That is my point. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to thank you all in the house, our committee, in the place. My name is Letty Mashelo from Prospect. My company is an educational company. I'm just dealing with young kids. And Merko okuyetsang at the same time ki Merko umunzi obereka ka batho ba bagolo bana. And then gare tla go di Hare tla go di barking ki di funding. It's too hard go na gore ke kgone go register. Always when you look for a land gore o ka kgone go bereka le batho, they are taking me to say go to Tshwane, go to this office, then ke tsang ke up and down ke ya go teng ha o fitla go ba botsa no go back tshwantse go masepaleng wa gago go tswang go teng ba go fe the documents rena re di sign fela. And then I gave up from them, and then I end up using my own site, my stand. Eki mix it in the business gore ke run my company, ke run a crash. Ho boima for now. The devices li no gore ke kgone go fitla mo go bile boima ha nke be ne se call em phonetseng e late Friday ha nka be ka a ke a bona email gore ke rometse email as a disabled person, I'm blind. Then the resources to me to can achieve business e ke etsang ha ke na tsona. Ha ke tshwantse ke etse eng, it's money. I'm taking my disability go dira all those things. Ke ntho tse tshwanetse le gore ba bantsi ba boletse mo pele haka. A ke na molom deswa ke setse ke sa kgone gore nka ya ko pele. Ke challenge re kopana le tsona mo di business tsa rena. Re end up ile gore we just sit because the tsotlhe they are costly. How we are going internet cafe o nyaka tšhelete e kana gore o kgone go reach something. If you write letters, ha o kgone write ka wena because it ba like o batla go iketsetsa ha o etsetse the community o etsang. Business tsa rona di wisa ke gore ha re kgone ga re na sepe, ha re kgone kry di finding. Ha o batla funding ho boima tshwantse o ye kwa go batla document e so. For sector ya rena document e kgolo e leng gore e re palisa go ka tsweletsa mmereko ya rena pele. It's a health certificate e leng gore they need too much money for the concern use all those things gore o can comply le bona gore o ka kry di funding. But as re tlile mo, I think committee e tlo kgone recognize dilo tsa rena, then maybe mmereko ya rena e tlo kgone gore e kgone go gola le go thusa batho di communities tsa rena. Ke a leboga.
Thank you. Can you have these last two hands? Oh, you guys. Okay, it will be there. The list is, my list is getting longer. Okay, it will be one. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are the last one, Baba. 7. Last one. If I open.
Sanbonani. Umambusi Mkhize lokhulumayo from Amadeo Trading Pty Limited. A woman living with a multiple of disabilities, seen and unseen, and coming from a lineage genetically from a family with a genes, the disability. So I'm very exposed to it, but very capable, because at this particular moment, I'm a facilitator, an assessor, as well as a moderator. And I am so impressed as we are speaking, and one thing that I was asking myself, will you be able to get a list of all the people that are here with all the businesses that are run by people living with disability, so that we can be able to, in ourselves, before we can even ask government, to empower ourselves. Because as we are sitting here, we've got all types of skills and experiences. For instance, I know with me myself, I'm intimidated by my numbers and everything. Every time I have to do the calculations of the prices and everything, I somehow, so there will be some of us that can be able to help us, so that we can have occasions like these where we can be able, for instance, I'll be able to facilitate any topic that I can be given, but someone else can be able to teach me how to do those calculations. Another thing that I think can help is to eliminate all these mental issues, psychological notions that we have, that government has as well as us. We have those things. We looked as like we are an additional in the population of the country. To our blacks, whites, Indians, and people living with disability. Ungati, we are an extra. We are somehow, as people that have to be given that thing, because let's just give them an afterthought. So that on its own create this notion of independence. This thing of like, even government looks at us like we are a liability. Should we give them? They're gonna depend on this one to run and take this to there and take this to there. Like right now, if without that thing, me sitting here, no one can even know what sort of a disability do I have. And the disability, for instance, that I will even disclose, because I'm not afraid of there's one that I have, which is bipolar disorder. And people living with that are highly intelligent. There's nothing that they can do. But the thing is now, coming back to no one knows that. You will never be given that opportunity. But because of all the stereotypes and that are embedded within us, then you look at yourself, you're like, I can't, I shouldn't, I cannot. If that can be eliminated, but it cannot be done by government only, it's by us now trying to meet at every now and then, so that we can be able to assure ourselves that, guys, we have, so that we can even identify amongst ourselves, what is it that we have? What can we put on a table? Even form cooperatives as well, that you've got this, I've got that, why don't we combine and bid for that? Thank you.
My name is Kensani Mahlangu. I'm from Soshanguve South. My disability, I'm diagnosed with polio at the age of 5. My left arm is paralyzed. I used to have a tuck shop and a food business. So I'm going to state the challenges that persons with disabilities are facing in the business. Now and then we are encouraged to establish and register businesses. This we do in the name of promised assistance, funding, or mentoring from government officials. As soon as we do, the process stagnates. Meanwhile, we continue to pay and file annual returns and bank accounts respectively. We feel that government officials only meet us to gather statistics for their reports. Hence, we believe that we, as people with disabilities, not living with disabilities. Sorry about that. We believe that we people with disabilities are being marginalized in this regard. We have therefore stopped responding to such calls, as we have been countlessly disappointed by our government. Testing, business planning, and funding up to mentorships. Thank you.
So living with it. Confidence level yako is majorly tested. You have to deal with lots and lots of issues. I mean, I won't go too far, but I do feel just like a government was very decisive and took major effort when it was pushing BEE for recognition abantu abamnyama, it should be the same as Google and kubantu abanama disability. Let it be a concerted effort that they are pushing. It was an agenda with BE, let it be an agenda with us, because lama scraps that we get thrown, now and again, they don't add up. They this room are looking for ampersand. They have taken a courage and put it into action. They
have maybe something to say. Okay, firstly, I think as government, yes, government always talks about supporting us, but there's nothing much to show. These days, the government talks about supporting women and youth more than people living with disability, which I honestly think it's unfair. Within the people living with disability space, we have women and men. Those people are scoring more points than persons who have to put 10 times effort to achieve whatever. So I think they should be looked at differently. I think at the end of the day, living with disability is extremely expensive, as my brother have just said there. And what we don't realize is that anyone can be disabled. You don't have to be born disabled for you to be disabled. You can get disabled in a second. I'm actually very glad that among us today, we have someone or people who are politicians. I hope they could table our concerns very seriously. So I would like to have a different view, unfortunately. Okay, but yeah, I think I can have a different view from what Mama next to me raised, to say, I personally think it's good that the government recognize people with disability, or they categorize them like that, because at least they can be seen or they can be given an opportunity. I think if we were all categorized the same, like we would have blacks, white, Indians, coloreds or whatever, and not have people with disability as categorized, have this opportunity that we got. I got disabled because of government. I was actually shot inside my hijacked car by the police, wrongly so. The same government is not assisting me today. Instead of assisting me, I feel like it's oppressing me even more. So what must I do now? When tendering, I'm assessed the same way, and I can tell you that I'm being compared or scored with people who are able. So I feel that is unfair. People living with disability don't all want grant money. Many ones work for their money, or they want to work for their money, and they enjoy that. So I wish that today's exercise could reach even Parliament, because I believe we need legislation that would protect people living with disability. Living with it is very expensive, because if you compare the two people, a person living with disability and a person who's not living with disability, you'll realize that it's really expensive, which is even the more reason for the government to support people living with disability. In tendering, sometimes you'll be expected to go to briefings. How do you go? For you, if you're using a wheelchair, you need a special car. You need to be assisted. So that on its own, it's an inconvenience. A normal taxi, you will not get on to a normal taxi or a normal bus. People wouldn't be patient with you. So that is an inconvenience. So for today's exercise, the question that I'm asking is, why not have tenders that are only open to people living with disability? The 7% target, I believe, is not a lot. There must be strict targets, and government must assess that. I'm sure that if someone higher in government can get disability, people in government would change their minds. So do we need that to happen for things to change? The answer is no. You wouldn't wish this to happen to anyone because it's not easy, it's very difficult. So I believe this is a very good start, and it's very impressive coming from government. So please, let's build our nation. Let's support each other. I thank you.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kishore, surname is Hari. I come from a company called KT Identity Promotionals. We're in the space of corporate clothing, sports clothing, and we do branding, we do embroidery, we do screen printing. There's a lot of things that government needs in that, with uniforms and stuff. I've been in business now for about 23 years, and in that time, I've been doing business with government for about 15 to say maybe 18 years. In the beginning, we used to get a bit of work, and then slowly you find that the RFQs start dwindling. The ones that come to you, you find that even the departments that you used to do work with, you ask them why you don't get the work anymore. No, somebody else came in a bit cheaper, oh this. And you think to yourself, if they came in at cheaper, what do you mean a little bit of cheaper? Because at that price, you think to yourself, then what's the point in doing the tender? Because there's a lot of work involved. It's not just simple like you put two and two together, and it's probably reason is that the chances are that they gave it to a friend of theirs because you've been doing it all these years and you know the cost of it, and all of a sudden it goes to somebody else. So now there's already a red flag. Another thing a challenge that I have is that we've approached, when the company was still good, we approached CIFA, CEDA, GEP for funding. And CIFA took 2 years. Set with that application, the chap that even did the initial application passed away. They gave it to another chap, and then he sat with it. And then each time they say, no, your financials are not good enough, or they're outdated, to another set. So you do that again, it costs you money. And then eventually, 2 years later, they said, no, you're unsuccessful. So it took 2 years of our company's resources trying to get some kind of funding so that you grow in your company. You gotta company that's running and all you got is some sort of vision to grow. But even that, after 2 years, they drop you. Then we went to CEDA. CEDA said, yes, we can help you. There is a program. Application submitted. I even went with a group called Productivity SA. The lady came with me and it says, how far you got? Till today, not one single answer from them. GEP gave us some money for a PO that we got. And I said, okay, so now we're on your program. And then, can we get asset finance? Oh, of course, you're already on the database. In December last year, I put in an application. I got no feedback until you get now and again. Say, no, we're busy with your application. And then, like about a month ago, no, we're at the final stages of with your application. So that's already a year gone down from December till October now. How they drag their feet, I just don't know how they do it. They got a tactful way of doing it. Then that's the funding. So after a while you think to yourself, do you really want to grow and keep people employed? I got a factory that had about 40 people. Now we're down to 22 because people just leave. You just don't have enough work. And even if you do a tender, they got small tenders. And you think to yourself, you want to grow. You want to grow to a bigger stage where you can handle the bigger ones. And that don't come to us. And even though you're a disabled company and you own the half of the company, maybe they look at it and say, no, you got to be 50% and more. I can't run the company myself. I got to take on people. And I am 50% is mine. And I started the company and I took on somebody else as the other 50%. So that's already a challenge. Then these conferences that you have, these appointments that you call people with disabilities. I've been to sandparks virtually. Went to Gauteng government printing works about a month ago. Went to social development, went to so many of them. And they all promised, no, they'll give you work. I don't think you're serious. Somehow this is done as part of using your government budget to finish up, give you tea, give you lunch, and then you go home. Some of them don't even take down your email address. Sandparks didn't even bother to find out who you are. They all just discussed, they say, no, we are genuine, But they didn't even take your email address. No follow-up to say, hey, have you got a tender? Have you got an inquiry from government? Nothing. So I think you got a budget, but you're not taking it seriously. Then a part of payment. Last month we did a job for City of Joburg, 100,000 rand. I even made a mistake and I submitted incorrect t-shirts. I redid the job. That means I didn't make a cent on it. You know what? It took them 3 months to pay me, running after them. And then they got an excuse that the building burned down and they had to change the place. But that's no excuse. After making no money on the job, 3 months, and then the bank's debit orders all bounce. Everything just bounced. And I say I'm in trouble, but nobody listens. And then they gave the money on the Monday after the 30th, when everything bounced. And I say, the damage is done already, a long time ago. Nobody cares. Then he says, sorry. But that doesn't help. So nobody, after a while you think to yourself, and I told the person at COJ, I don't ever want to tender for you guys. Because it's very disheartening that after doing the job, you still treat us like this. So one is the challenge of disability, and then the other part is all of the funding, the payments. There's a lot of other things that get involved. Now our company, people are just leaving, and it doesn't, because no more work is coming in. We used to do 1/3 of our business with government is dwindled down to about 2%. We're looking at the private sector to say, hey, help us, get work. And they seem to be coming on board. All right, thank you.
I don't know what can I say, morning or good day. You are talking to Mr. Emma Tebula from Harangua. Because there is a motto says, nothing about us without us. I don't know whether people, they do understand or they just do as a recitation or what, I don't know. But nothing about us without us. It means that we need to be represented by a disabled person who is having a passion and understanding of about ourselves. And then also, another guy talked a very serious thing by saying that our life is very so expensive. For example, I'm using a cane. When you go to the hospital, we don't have a cane specific for us. You must go to buy it somewhere, cost 8,000 something. Okay, let me leave it. I'm from Matebula. I'm a business owner. I'm doing, maybe you are going to laugh, but I'm different. I'm doing recycling. And then I'm having 3 employees at Harangua Pick and Pay. And then if you do recycling, you must clean the place. You cannot just take the box and plastics and H1, HL1, HL2, and then leave the place untied. You must clean the place, no? So, I'm having 7 years, since from 2017 until now it's 2023. Can count, it's about 7 years. And then this work, I manage it by myself because of, I'm having containers. I can climb those steps alone without a colleague will come and help. No. I mark it, and then when they tell me this container is full, I must enter inside so that I will be measure that container, is it full, so that because of, we are having a problem that some people can rob you, and then find that when you are going to compare the weight, then there's a different when they are going to pay you. So I'm having a serious challenge. I'm having 3 employees. I'm not having a funding to sustain my business. For example, I rent a container, and then when a truck comes to pick up a container, I pay 2,500 rand. It's either it's going every week or every fortnight. 2,500 is out. And then you find that, whereas I cannot give it accurate, but you find that maybe sometimes, because I'm supplying other waste group with my staff, and then sometimes you find that maybe they give me 3,000 rand. And then I must share with those people because of, it's a problem. 2, I pay by using, I pay them with that one from recycling, and then 1 I take from my SASA grant because of this disabled person he's a hard worker. Then when you told him, no man, the money is not enough because I'm a priest and a bishop, it's going to be a problem for my side. So I just take my grant and deduct a certain amount so that I can keep that guy in my work. I'm maybe 1 lady, 2 boys, 1 disability, no, 2 disability, and 1 sighted person. So it is my plea to help me to get the grant for having my own trucks. Another person can say, why did he need truck? Because he cannot see. I need truck because of, I'm going to hire a driver, and then I'm going to pay the driver. And then if this work can give me more. I can give you your SASSA grant back, but at least empower more than 40 to 50 people. You see, it is my plea, that one, because of, I go to CEDA seeking for an funding, they say, we'll come back to you. They come to my place and take some pictures, and then they go. 3 months back, we were having a workshop at Garangwa Art and Culture. CEDA came and say, yeah, no, right now, want to know how many people need business or they're in business. And then we came in numbers. They just hang us like a trouser when you hang it on in a wardrobe. Then they go. So it's a problem, that one. So I myself, my blind doesn't disturb me to do what I want to do. And I want to empower other blind and also different disabilities, as long as I teach them the way, because I like my work that I know, sir. I don't want to code for other people's work, but I want to teach my work I know. So, Honorable Government, I think maybe you will take my my request into highly consideration. And also, sometimes when you go to CEDA for registration, when you enter into the CEDA offices, they say, you are getting grant? Why do you come here to register a business? Why don't you stay at home? We don't want to stay at home, because this, right now, I'm having a tertiary, my girl is in tertiary. And then tertiary, they need more than 30,000. And then I'm getting 2,000 rand. Count 2,000 to 30,000 maybe per semester, not per year, per semester for 4 years. How much? It's a change, it's like 1 rand to my SASSA grant. You see? So that's why I'm saying, and then also I'm suggesting that, because we are having BEE, we must also maybe suggest to have a disability business of South Africa, disability business of South Africa that will merge with BEE. So the main problem I have researched is that, one, in CEDA, there's no stakeholders for disability. There's no disability representative in CEDA, and also other departments. Others, yeah, there are at least one. They are not for me even 2%. You see? So that's why it is my plea for the government, take us into high consideration, so that when we empower the people, tax men will come and say, no, you are no longer fit to get SASSA. But now I need SASSA because of I'm not doing a profit. I'm working on a loss. That's why I need sustainability. So the last thing I can say is that I want to correct something. You give us the books and ball pen, and then we are blind. So we are having blind SA, blind South Africa. We have National Council for the Blind. You want to tell me that it is expensive to come with our material, so that we can go hand in glove with the thing. Right now, this thing, I'm going to give it to my PA at home to read for me, but sometimes it can be strenuous if maybe so much. So maybe please next time correct this thing. And also, we came late, and then when you go to breakfast, they say food is finished. It's wrong. You know the number for the people with disability come here. You need to sort it out, whereas it's a self-catering. But you need to sort it out, put this one for disability people, and then when they come, they'll help themselves. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. This is the last one, because we need to respond.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is I'm visually impaired. My company is Mandibonge Enterprise Property Limited, of which I've registered as a supplier for Tswane. I've got a vendor number in Tswane, and I've got a vendor number in Gauteng. The thing is, since my company was registered and I got a vendor number in Tswane, 2021, there was only one RFQ I've got from Tswane, of which I didn't even get to work. And in Gauteng, nothing, since I've registered as a vendor, of which all the paperwork was being submitted. And now, there was this thing in Gauteng which is called PCAT. Ne? On the PCAT, they help triple BESMMEs with level 1 and 2. So I did submit all the paperwork, and Standard Bank, I think, is the one which helps. So I did submit everything. And even the delegation for the representative for the PCAT, I did that, but nothing. So what I want to know, because when you ask, you write the email, there's this guy, when you check on the supply chain management in GPT, then there's this guy called Humphrey. They don't give out their numbers. What they do, you just get the email address. So when you send the email, what they do is you must attend a workshop in 124 Main Street opposite Carlton Center. I'm living in Pretoria and I'm visually impaired. So I just want to know, how do they expect me to reach the destination? Because I'm using taxis, né? I can maneuver through Pretoria. Because Pretoria is not that rough, I could maneuver alone. But now to maneuver through Joburg and getting off a taxi at the MTN rank, walking to Carlton Center, then that means I'm subjecting myself to be mugged, to be robbed or something, because I can't see where I'm going. So what I want to suggest is, because this Gauteng got two big cities, it's Pretoria and it's Gauteng. Why don't, just because that one is on the Thursday, why don't they bring the other one on one of the weekdays in Tswane, so that we can, as the SMMEs, attend those. And the RFQs, what happened last week, last of last week, I went to Tswane and asked them, as a vendor, why don't I get any RFQs? Because I've last received the RFQ last year. In fact, last of last year, when I registered with them and got a vendor number. And what they said is, no, we'll call you. When I said, and then the guy who was helping me, he told, just because he was talking to them on the phone, then he said, the guy is totally blind. Then they said, oh, are you totally blind? Are you visually impaired? I said, yes. And they said, no, you know what, leave your phone numbers and leave the vendor number, and maybe we'll see, maybe next week we'll give you something. So that's how the government is working. You've got to go and request with your disability, and you don't even qualify, but because you went to them, then they'll give you something. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I said that was the last one, but I'm told there are two hands there. Can we please be as short as possible?
Good day. My name is Mapule Moloto from the Valsbooting. One has built a great relationship with Gauteng Legislature. I have grown and dispersed the challenges we face in between the buyers and the business, but one has truly grown in an amazing way. I'm standing here to say thank you a million times. It's been years waiting with Gauteng Legislature But now I'm facing a dry season in my company. All I'm saying, I'm asking to be given a business opportunity once again to cook for your workshop and your function. At the same time, I understand that legislature, you say one must qualify for one service rendering. But can you please consider, especially people with disabilities, with amazing abilities? Let's say I'm in catering. Can you please consider, give me the option to also supply grocery? Kore eskaba too far from the catering and Premier's office. I know how to cook. I know how to deliver. Please give me an opportunity. And once again, please go back to your procurement and make sure you give us at least 1 or 2, 3 companies with people with amazing abilities to render a service. That way, at least you'll be meeting the target. As I sit down, I'm not only doing catering, I do motivational speaking through my life experience. So if you need a motivational speaker, I'm here. I'm an author as well. I wrote a book, motivating others with amazing abilities, saying it's not the end of the world, being born with amazing abilities. And yes, I'm not using the D word. I'm born with amazing abilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The next speaker, the last one, the very, very last one.
Thank you. I think my name is Fiso. I'm an accountant, chartered accountant. I think we are in a system where budgets are getting tighter and tighter, and businesses in general, are struggling a bit. And I think government has done some great job in looking after women and youth. I think when you see tenders, you see a lot of stuff targeting youth and targeting women. And, but there is a low number of people, which is people with disabilities, which is currently being overlooked. There's not much that goes to people with disabilities. You look at tenders, it's only those few tenders that go to people with disabilities. And I've gone as far as, engaging some departments, going there and just asking guys to give us some business. And, I think one department I came to sell, audit services. We were CAs. I brought my team to the meeting, and the department offered for us to supply stationery. And I said, but we are accountants, we don't do stationery. That could have gone to another company of a person with disabilities who can, offer stationery and whatever else. And that's sort of the trend. I don't think, a lot of the guys take people with disabilities seriously in the departments, or the whole thing of empowering people with disabilities. I don't think it's a nice thing to say and to have, but when it comes to action, I don't think it's taken seriously at all. You are just managed, brushed off, or they just manage you, and you disappear. And I think in some instances you will be trained to death. I think one organization, one government organization said, okay, if you want to supply us, we'll train you and we'll give you a certificate. So we said, okay, I said to the guys, okay, let's stick to what they're saying. Let's go for the training. We went for the training for 3 months. I gave up time to do things that would put bread on my table. Went to that training for 3 months. And what a waste of time. So I was trained finance by people who didn't understand finance as well as I did. It was a joke. I would correct them every session. But I'm sure the trainers got paid nicely and wasted a lot of our time. And you know, we moved on from that. After going through that process, we were then given contracts to then be on the enterprise development, because now we could supply this organization. So we were then given contracts, and then we noted the dates, and I think the contracts were expiring in like 2 months from when we were signing. So we raised this, and they said, no, don't worry about that. You know, it's just you know. We said, okay, that's fine, let's trust them, let's sign this thing. And we signed it, and we thought, wow, we are now in the enterprise development of this particular organization. And then nothing came through, so we set up meetings, we were hounding them, we were saying, guys, let's do something. Nothing happened. We then went to meet the head of procurement. We raised this, we said, guys, we've got an enterprise development agreement with you guys. These are your obligations in terms of the agreement. The guy said, but this thing is not recognized. It's expired as well. So he said, but you know, your guys backdated this thing, and you know, so we actually wasted a lot of our time attending. We've got certificates to show we attended these trainings, and yeah, what a waste of time. And there's also when you go to the funding organizations, you go to the IDC, you go to the NEF, maybe even PIC, you'll find, you know, funds for women, maybe for youth, but you won't find funds that can fund businesses for people with disabilities. So, which is why I concluded that, you know, it's not, you know, maybe it's not being taken seriously because we have low numbers compared to youth and women. So politically, we are not relevant as a group that can be supported. That's how we are viewed. As a group, that's not really relevant because we are small in numbers. So from a voting perspective, you know, who cares about this grouping? So I think maybe what could help is for there to be set asides for groupings of people with disabilities where there's a set aside for certain, you know, budgets, and those funds must be spent on companies of people with disabilities. People with disabilities can then compete for that. And if government has certain things that they, let's say a department is not meeting their targets, and you know, they can have a pool of companies with people with disabilities that they can access. I think those are some of the solutions that can be put forward. I think in KZN, I attended a similar session in KZN, and I proposed that maybe there be an app or something online where businesses of people with disabilities can register, and then if government needs those specific services, they can go onto that online platform to actually source those service providers. That could give us some, shot. I know that the KZN department was working with Treasury, and they'll be launching it soon. I think I even offered a small donation to help in advancing that platform, and I think it will be launching now in November. So I'm hoping that something similar could be done. I hope it works down in KZN, but I'm Gauteng based. We do have an office in KZN, but I'm Gauteng based. We are just pleading with you for us to maybe be not made feel irrelevant or unimportant or sort of third-class citizens, to be given a sort of fighting chance. We've got higher costs ourselves, even operationally. I mean, for our offices, I have to make sure there are ramps or lifts or whatever, wherever we go, and that always comes with some cost and other costs in general. So when it comes to the time when businesses are going to start struggling, we are going to be among those that are going to be hit first, because our general cost of living and cost of running our offices is maybe a bit higher. So please, may we be taken a bit more seriously.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for your valuable inputs. We really appreciate this feedback. Maybe before I move forward, I don't know whether members, do you want to say something? Yes, Honorable Msemang and Honorable Alberts.
Chair, thank you very much. Chair, I sit in a room full of people that give me inspiration. And I'm not just saying it because we're sitting in a room, but I'm saying it because I feel that there are people that want to contribute, and we're not helping them to contribute as we should be helping them to contribute. These are not people who are asking for handouts. These are people who are saying, we want to do something, help us. And I feel that if you listen to the general trend, they're asking for access. They're asking for information to be made available. One of the greatest things that, Chair, I think must be a recommendation number one, is that we should never centralize these offices in places where people are not able to then get to get information. I think, first of all, we must agree that one of our recommendations is that there should be regional offices where people can go in. I was listening to Baba, the last speaker, sorry, I didn't get the name. But there is that information, and there is, that access to, there is that funding. But the fact that you say a chartered accountant doesn't even have that, it then makes me wonder what happens to the everyday Joe soap. It means that that person, that information is there, that grant is there. DBSA has a section specifically for that. But if you don't know that, then what does happen to somebody that is still starting a business at the bottom? So, Chair, my recommendation, we do our own feedback. But I think one of the things that we should be picking up is that because if we start asking about the disability desk, then we'll get to know what information is there. And somebody said something very interesting about appreciation of the challenges that people go through. The fact that you would even go and put up a survey without even saying how will people living with this kind of disability deal with that survey that we're sending out. I think for me that sends a message that says perhaps we need to then relook at this in a broader scale to be able to then get a broader response to what we have received. So that's one point that I'm taking. But for me, the start is to then say access. So maybe it's for us to then through COGTA to then ask, where is the disability offices? What information do they have there? Are they having relevant information that is not only talking to the grants? You know, I love it when people says, I don't want a grant. I don't want a grant because it's not taking me anywhere. I want to do something for myself and for my family. Up to us as government to then say, how do we then assist? So I like that, and I think it's something that we now need to then start taking seriously to then say, how do we build that into the conversation going forward? Also, I think another issue is the issue of red tape, Chair. Part of us moving away from the traditional DTI format of registering and getting people to get that documentation was that we needed to fast track the issue of issuing of documentations that people need. So your tax certificates, your company registration or CC registration documents, that is somehow died. Or it's now been frustrated, and we need to find out why is that being frustrated. And I'll tell you, part of why it's been frustrated is because there's a lot of corruption that is taking place. You go to these offices, if you don't have money to give somebody sitting there at the desk, then your documents get to be lost. And there are people who come in, stop people at the door and say, you know, if you give me 100 rand, then your documents will be fast-tracked inside. And maybe this is one of those things that we're going to need to then visit here. Chair, I think I don't want to go too much, but the last one for me, there is a trend also that is coming. We need to find a way of assisting people to verify issues of scams. Because imali zabantu ziyadliwa. People are made to pay monies to then say, we want for this document to come through, or for this to be processed, pay 1,000 rand, pay 2,000 rand there. Let's find a way, Chairperson, of bringing somewhere where we can assist people to verify quickly information that they're getting before people lose more of their money. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Member Alberts.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to listen to you. I think I came a bit late. I apologize. I missed some of your feedback in the beginning, the first hour. But one of the reasons why we are here is because we are very concerned about the fact that from government side, when they set certain targets, they don't even meet their targets when it comes to people with disabilities in providing contracts, government contracts, and that's provincial government. They normally set a target of about 7%. I'm not sure if you know this. They set a target of 7% per department, but most departments don't even reach the 7%. So that's a problem, and that's why we decided to come listen to you and invited you to come and speak to us so that we can understand what is the problem exactly. And Member Msimanga, I think, summarized it quite well by saying that we are not reaching you because it's difficult for you to come to us. And therefore, government must actually come to you, right, in the first place. So they should, the provincial government and national government, so that opportunities can be opened up for you on all three levels of government. And when there's training to be given, then that will also be provided to you through those desks. So that's the one thing that's important. I don't want to belabor that point. Member Msimanga has said a lot about that. What I want to focus on, and I think that's very important, is what provincial government can do, is to see if they can create a fund for people with disabilities. Now, I know a lot of you said that we should not treat you different from other people, but you know, you have a fund for the youth. There's a huge youth fund, right? There's a huge women's fund in terms of BEE and so forth. But I know of no such fund for people with disabilities. And there should be one because it can help not only with financing in business, but it can help by providing grants so that you can actually build offices or create offices where you can operate. So there would be ramps or whatever you would need as tools to help you get around in terms of your disability. that fund can then help to fund those things. But then over and above that, and Member Mzimanga has alluded to that, is we need to get government become efficient. So you talked about acknowledging the extra work that you did and so forth. Those things must be looked at, because if government says we're creating laws like BEE laws to assist you, but they're not really working to implement them with a heart, not just with the mind, but really caring. So I'm talking about having a caring government. If that is not there, then all the laws in the world cannot mean anything. So we must also look at the way that government is treating you, the attitude that's there. Not taking your email address when you're going, so one of the gentlemen talked about not even taking your contact details to get back to you. And then, of course, the big problem of corruption. No, you must give something else to be acknowledged. Then maybe you get it onto a list. You're not even sure that you will make it if you pay the extra something else. And then you have to pay something extra else to perhaps get the contract in the end. It's not always like that, but it's a lot like that, unfortunately, in many departments. And that's something we need to work at. I've made notes of many of your comments. I just want to make sure that I do cover everything that I wanted to give you feedback on. So yes, I think it's important that local government must play a role in becoming accessible to you and providing information, and provincial government must play a role as well. We must also have a desk for you in provincial government. And then we should actually make sure that those targets, the 7%, are met, but set higher targets. I've dared the government to set higher targets than just 8%. And then we must have a database. We must have some form of an application. Somebody, I think the gentleman back there talked about an app, that an app must be created which you can access on your cell phone, whereby you can register yourself as an individual, but also as a business, and say, these are my abilities. I can make clothing, I can do taxes, I can do whatever is that you can do. And then there's a database of people already existing there that we can match up with any tenders or other work that's out there to make it easier for you to match up. And then also, I think you spoke about creating a platform, a sort of like I'm trying to find the right word, but it's basically a platform where people with disabilities can connect with each other and provide advice. So government can also play a role to create that platform where you can talk to each other, you get to know each other, you can give each other advice and so forth. But you can also do that separately if you wanted to. Obviously funding is a problem because you have to build the website and so forth, or the apps, but their government can also then assist in the end of the day. So, because I want to say this perhaps, it's good to rely on government, but as you go down the road, it's good to become less dependent on government, because you never know who is in government. One day a good guy, another time it's a bad guy. So government gives you the push, but in the end, you must work among yourselves to help also to assist yourself, but government must provide that basic level of assistance to you to actually get a shot in life, to get that, to be on a springboard where you can go and grow your business. Because in the end, you don't want to do business with government only. Because I can tell you, we've been to some governments overseas. Governments all over the show have their problems, in paying their people. So then you will also be able to become part of the economy as a whole and be treated like any other business, and where you can do business with anybody else. So, but that's our role and our commitment to try and see if we can help you in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member Alberts, and thank you for those inputs. Before I give Member Munyayi to give us a way forward, I think there are two things one is taking here. One is that we are not meeting the targets because we don't have a concerted effort to really help this group, like we do with other groups, because I know for a fact that the NYDA, part of their function is to do exactly what you have complained about. They help young people to register companies, to print, to do this, to do that. But with this group, we are doing absolutely nothing. That is why our database is so low. And secondly, we only used those who are in the CSD, those who are registered. But this roundtable tells me that we must open up our network, so because we are missing a lot of people out. So that's the two that I'm taking, and we're also taking the criticism very positively that the method that we use for the research, did it reach everyone? Where we considerate of other disabilities other than the one we know, and I've learned a lot today. I must be honest, and we must confess, Uti, maybe you are correct when you say government does not understand disability. You are correct. Over to you, Member Munyai, just to give us a way forward, and then we close our meeting. But I think we must make a commitment, Member Munyai, Member Msimang, Member Alberts, and our team, that this should not be the first and the last interaction, so that we are able to, other than meeting the targets of government, but also pushing what we have suggested here, the legislation dealing with disability and so forth. It needs us to be partners. Exactly. Thank you very much, Member Munyai.
Thank you very much indeed. Allow me, esteemed Honorable Chairperson, Umhlonishwa Dlamini, esteemed the Chief Whip of the Majority Party in Gauteng Legislature, Ubaba Olisiho Makubela, who tendered the apology, esteemed Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Umhlonishwa Babu Msimang, esteemed Honorable Members and different abled entrepreneurs. Allow me to, for the purpose of this summary, not to say people with disability, to say because everyone in society is abled. So, but we are just differently abled entrepreneurs before this session. And we know, Honorable Chairperson, that in Gauteng we have over 2,500 registered businesses of the persons who are different abled. Economic participation by person who are differently able is a crucial aspect of creating an inclusive society to address challenges faced by this marginalized sector. We are saying marginalized sector because the participant raised that aspect of marginalization. A roundtable discussion has been organized principally to explore strategies and initiatives aimed at increasing their economic participations. These sessions, as the chair would have said, aim to highlight the importance of the discussions, outline the potential solutions, and emphasize the benefits of empowering the persons who are differently able, not just in the workforce, but also principally in the economic opportunities through tendering. And I think you made it loud that tendering systems, the cost of doing business in Gauteng has been very high. So therefore, there need to be special relaxations of the regulations or law, if possible, to allow you to do business easy without spending a lot of money. Some of the recommendation of innovation and technology has been put forward, and platforms that are necessary to help all of ourselves. And we must say that the economic participations of persons who are differently abled, it's a critical aspect for fostering inclusivity and equality in society. To address these challenges, we have, and I think I must thank you on behalf of these esteemed honorable members, honorable chair of OCPOL for addressing this, for organizing this roundtable discussion for the people who, the business people or entrepreneurs who are differently abled. So we must say that the enhancing of economic participation for this person is fundamental necessity. It's no longer by the way, because the way they express themselves, the way, the wording, and the conceptualization of how government address it and the people with disability, that has been totally rejected. So government must find a new formulation in this regard. And I can say from your own contribution, we have identified the barriers that need to promote inclusive access for funding for sustainable business opportunity. I think in Tanto Chilo Molori, who's running recycling, that they need funding in order to sustain their business. And I'm sure you covered the issues of, some of the honorable members covers the issues of the, you don't need grant. You are differently able, you want to pursue business opportunities. And issues of innovation came strong in these sessions. And we must say that not just relaxations, the regulation must even make it easy for entrepreneurs before this house to do business. And I think one of the honorable member, one of the member participants said something that I need to travel from Pretoria. I was expected to go to Carlton centers. I'll go to those details. Gauteng provincial legislature, Gauteng executive, various departments, they are not meeting the target. They are saying we don't know where to find them. We can affirm they are here. Yes. First and foremost, some of them, they are accountant, differently skilled, dealing with the issues of clean environment, recycling and others, and issues of the corporate gift and printing, a number of factors. All the skills are before this house. Though ongoing dialogue on collaboration and concerted efforts can create society that values and embraces the talent and the contribution of all of you, regardless of our abilities. Now, let me try to summarize, Chair. I won't take your time. The issues of each and every member participant raised. The contribution by Likwane, and I think you're from Orchard, somewhere around there. I think the criticism on government, that they don't understand the sector and the association thereof. The briefing session, and I think didn't have a signage, just seeks to advise all the delegates how to get into this session. Those are the indication that we lack an understanding of the sector, of the people or persons who are differently able. And tender system, I think the issues of the cost are dealt with it. And I think it is important that, you know, this is not the issues of just a mere stationary access. Support for this sector in briefings, using of email and other technology platform has been proposed in this meeting. The participant Makatini, and I think raised the issues of the survey done online, the blind people segregated, 90% of them would have been highlighted, economics bad, and I'm sure the issues of support, focused support on the persons who are different ables need to be taken forward. Kolegani Mhlongo appreciated the panel and indicated that there's a lack of poor response with respect to RFQs. There are scammers related to the bidders. Company registered in 2017 didn't get anything. How come then the departments, they don't meet all these targets? And there's a company that had been registered since 2017 and more years, and they're not getting economic opportunities. So at least we have today's database and their contribution. And as in the context of the oversight sector model, we are going to hold the executive accountable, from the premier and all members of the executive. I must say that on the child in Tate, whom we are contributing to go to school, on the other cap, I'm the chairperson of Education Portfolio Committee. The MEC have a bursaries, and we must facilitate, after getting the database, that these institutions that are giving support for learners must be supported. We must take efforts. But we can only do that. And I think the proposal that they need in the office of the Premier, they need to be a representative of this sector. Office of the Premier. Why there must be youth desk, MKMVA desk, and other. There must be this office. We are conducting oversight over the Premier and the Speaker, in addition. And I'm sure we'll take this forward, such that one of you were doing things with you, not on your behalf without yourself. And you know the sectors, you know the language, and these issues of the Braille and other activities to help. By the way, in Cape Town, my good sir, I used to work with, as my neighbor in the parliament, Honorable Member Vote, who's a deaf, for a long time, for almost 4 years. And I was trying to learn even the sign language. So that was very important experience for me. And I think we must recognize these marginalized, different able sectors. The issue of the transformation, I think you raise, it takes time. It should not take time. Why? Because this is a matter of regulation. We don't need new law. If the sector is recognized as there, we must make sure it's issues of priority. And I'm sure the chair will clarify the geode in the context of Gauteng. Samantha, you said you are a stubborn entrepreneur and you are not recognized and marginalized. And again, we're not holding yourself accountable, and we are not being held accountable to support the people with, you said people with disability, but I'm saying people who are differently able. And I'm sure you said a lot of comprehensive guideline from your own book, but let me not go to the details there. And I'm sure the issues of the CSD and the treasury and the use of the media. But media should be different because we must also aid those that can't. Sign language must be compulsory in there, in every activities, even in any story that people place in the TVs, because those people will not be entertained by those platforms. Most organizations will come to her and she will sacrifice even her own grant for her own children, and the issues of the land scamming again arises, and the land which has applied for agriculture, and I think it's very, and I think she worked with people from Portugal and locally, but you know, she deals with the issues of poverty and rehabilitations, and I think the issues of updating of communication platforms, such as phone, email, and etc., need to be fundamentally dealt with. Uzizi, Ulbaba Lombeki, Ray, and I think is the person that owns a disability organization, and welcome the portfolio committee for creating this opportunity to get and to share collective historical experiences with respect to opportunity. And again, this focused intervention, and he proposed that the research that has been tabled be shared with all of you. And I don't see any harm. It's a research, it belongs to you. That need to be dealt with, that need to be given to you. And suggest that the redistribution of all the people that are here must receive that document. Experience in procurement with Gauteng, again, the cost of doing business in tendering and etc. is a problem, which means I think persons that are differently able, there must be a specific, easy things to do. And they will tell us on proposition of how it needs to be done. And I think printing of paper has been too much exercise, but all in all, honorable members, I must say, I've covered all your contribution to the end by our accountant, whom our government want him to supply a stationery. Why? Because it's a professional accountant. Very scarce skills. You know, most of us were not even accountant. Why you want the accountant to go and submit stationery? For what? That to me is a segregation. It's much, it's not right, it's exclusion. So all I'm trying to say, I've covered all your summary of the issues that you have raised. The city of Joburg paying you after 3 months, and also you go and redo the work. I mean, I've listened to all your points, and they are consolidated, and I'm sure in final analysis, you'll receive all your report. I'm privileged to work with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member Mnyaya. I think you have summarized it very well. And I wish to thank you all participants for responding to our invitation. We hope that you are now one of our very important stakeholders. There is a lot of issues that you have raised. The process moving forward is that the committee will deliberate on this and make recommendations. And I would, Tim, I don't know whether, I want to make a commitment that when we table our report in the legislature, we must invite our stakeholders so that they see what we are taking them seriously and the recommendations that we have made here. For me, it's not only the target met, it's the broader issue. It's engagement. So thank you very much for your participation. And I hope you're also making that commitment to partner with us to make sure that we help you. And I really want to endorse as a serious recommendation, Madlamin, don't miss it, that there must be a desk and somebody from this sector in the office of the Premier. I think that is very important, so that there is that link even in the executive. The meeting is now adjourned, and you are invited for lunch, and thank you very much and enjoy your weekend. And we really would like to apologize for those who treated some of you badly and for the shortcomings of our signages and so forth. We are also learning. Thank you very much. Thank you.